see a friend of mine. She also has a couple different chronic illnesses, one of which being orthostatic hypotension, which is a form of dysautonomia. Weirdly enough, I accidentally diagnosed her sometime this year, but she has a different chronic illness that's causing her difficulties, so I'm going to meet her there. I find it very interesting and kind of funny, depending on the day, that we are friends and we both have chronic illness, because in a way it's hard to be a caregiver to someone when you yourself are chronically ill. But the great thing about it is that you have a built-in support system. So if you are in the ER, then your friend can come over and help you out. Or if they're in the ER, I can do the same. So in a way, although it's kind of the blind leading the blind in some ways, it is a great support system. And so I'm hoping that she's doing okay, so I'm gonna go and get her some supplies from her house, because they may or may not admit her today, and then we will see what she's up to. So a good tip for when you're going to the ER is to make sure that you're prepared for a wait, because fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you are, the ER works as a triage system, which means that the worst, or the people in the worst shape, get in faster. So the problem a lot of times with us as dysautonomia patients is that outwardly we may not necessarily look the worst unless you're actually passing out on their floor, which I've done before. But unless you're actively passing out, a lot of times you can end up waiting a while. I've been fortunate enough to not have to wait too long most of the time. But yes, a good tip for when you're going to the ER is to be prepared. So before I hit the highway, I ran over to the gas station and grabbed drinks and snacks for myself, because I still need to make sure that I keep everything running as smoothly as I can, because being in the hospital as a friend or family member with a chronic illness can be rough, because you're doing a lot of sitting, a lot of waiting, and it's very easy to get dehydrated. So I grabbed a couple drinks for myself, as well as snacks, just in case I get hungry, because you know the moment that you get hungry and you go somewhere to get food, they're gonna call that person back, and then you're gonna be looking for them all over the ER. So as far as food and drink, make sure you have it. Another thing that I grabbed was a phone charger for myself and for the person who's going over the ER right now, because she originally went to urgent care, so she was hoping she wouldn't have to be there that long, but urgent care told her to go to the ER. But that also meant she was unprepared, didn't have a phone charger on her, so I'm bringing one to her. Another thing that I brought was my iPad to keep me entertained, because a lot of times in the ER they can end up taking the patient back to do imaging or testing or whatever it may be, and most ERs usually have a one-person rule, where you can only have one person in the room with the patient at any one time, just to keep the level of bodies down. So since her dad is with her, he and I are gonna be kind of doing this in shifts from the sounds of things. So he has the ability to go eat, get something to drink, do whatever, and he knows he's not leaving her by herself because I'll be with her. But that also means that I may be spending some time in the waiting room by myself. So having that source of entertainment will be good for me. Also, ERs and hospitals tend to have a free Wi-Fi, the ones that I've been to anyway. So that way, by having the iPad, I can go on YouTube if I'm bored, or Netflix, or whatever your flavor of internet is. So entertainment, Food and drinks, charger, bare minimum is what I think you should have. She may or may not be getting admitted, and if she does, I'm probably going to be going over to her house to grab a couple things, and I'll bring you guys with me to kind of go over the things that people tend to want when they get admitted to the hospital. So I'll keep you guys updated. Hello, it is another day. So here's what happened. I arrived at the ER waiting room at 5:30, and we didn't actually get a room for my friend until probably 8-ish. And so what happened was that she went to the ER because she'd been throwing up for the last 3 weeks, pretty consistently. She hadn't been able to keep down food, she hadn't been able to keep down water, and the reason for that is, and I did ask for permission while I was with her, the reason why she was feeling so nauseous for so long is that she has something called gastroparesis. And gastroparesis is a disease where you have delayed emptying of the stomach due to a partially paralyzed stomach. And so over the course of the last couple of years, her stomach's been having more and more issues, and she was recently told that she's going to need a pacemaker in her stomach, so it'll kind of help control it and help her out and help her with digestion and everything. But the problem is that she's having to play the waiting game with her doctor to get the surgery done. Meanwhile, she's been extremely sick pretty constantly. She's been getting super dehydrated from all the throwing up, and so it was kind of an interesting thing to, one, not be the patient, and two, to watch her go through the same struggles that I've been going through, where you go to the ER, you're clearly sick, you're clearly uncomfortable, and the ER doctors can give you fluids, maybe they can give you pain meds, maybe they can give you something for the nausea, but beyond that, they really can't help you. And she didn't meet the criteria to be admitted, so they couldn't even admit her to stabilize her. So they gave her some anti-nausea medication and a little bit of potassium because she was a little low, and sent her home. And so we ended up all going home around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But it was very frustrating because she was in such poor shape, I was having to be her advocate. And I was really trying to push for them to admit her because she's lost 15 pounds in the last 3 weeks. But they said, no, I'm sorry, you know, I really wish I could do something, but she doesn't meet the criteria. And I said, well, you know, if we admit her, does that mean that she can get her appointment moved up? Because her appointment with her GI doctor isn't for another 2 weeks. And he said, no, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. And so, me playing the waiting game for my Stanford appointment, it's so frustrating to watch someone else go through the stuff I've been going through and not being able to help them, because I know more than anybody how frustrating it can be to be that sick and to be that miserable and have no other choice than to play the waiting game. And her insurance is actually better than mine, and she's still having to wait 2 weeks. So it was definitely very frustrating to really push and really advocate for her and not really get a whole lot of headway. But that's what ended up happening. It sounds like she's doing a little better today. They gave her some extra strength nausea medication that should really help with what she's got going, and hopefully she'll actually be able to start eating again, so she can last long enough to get to her GI appointment. And so that's pretty much what went down, but definitely a different and unique experience for sure. If you're interested regarding her health and her problems with gastroparesis, make sure to leave a comment, and I will kind of ask her if I can interview her and give you guys a look into her daily life and her struggles, because she definitely has a story to tell. So yeah, if you're interested, leave a comment and we will go from there. So I will see you in the next video.